Peter's personality is always very, very upbeat. He loves people, he's extremely social. Even on the bad days, he's always the kind of little guy that just warms your heart. And someone passes by without giving him attention, he'll look around, he'll stare at them, he'll invert his torso, trying to get eye contact, trying to get a gaze until the person smiles at him, which is a perfect summary of Peter. He's not verbal, but he says so much without speaking. Grit has helped Peter experience childhood in a lot of ways. One of the big things is how inclusive Grit was, and that was one of the reasons we chose Grit, is they followed him through the community to make him part of the group of people he was part of at every chapter of his day-to-day life. So certainly a few stories that really stick out were, two really jump out in my mind, our minds, as he came back from school one day. It was around Christmas time, and we opened up his school bag, and there was a cute little card from a little girl, and she had a picture of Peter in his wheelchair, and she was pushing him, and then she drew little arrows and said, "This is me pushing Peter. I want to push Peter forever." Only a few weeks later, in the depths of January winter, they had an outdoor party for her birthday, and Peter was invited. And certainly the inclusive nature of Grit facilitated that, and a big part of that was the developmental assistants. Fatima, Frances, and Carrie were just rock stars and unbelievably sweet and kind and professional and thorough, and just the biggest hearts imaginable taking care of Peter. Honestly, just the way in which they think about the well-being of the child and how warm and loving and caring they are, overarching operational efficiency was just outstanding. I wish it went until like grade 12. I really enjoyed time, generally almost weekly or a few times a month, carving out a bit of time on a Wednesday morning, if I recall, with a bunch of other family units or parents, and learning about their journey through having a child with special needs. But sometimes it's nice to take a step back and kind of think about the well-being of mom or dad, or grandma, grandpa, or whoever might be helping out little child. So I really enjoyed meeting with these people, sharing stories, some tear-jerking moments for sure, and then you can message that person and say, "Hey, you mentioned you had a really good piece of advice in this area," and then you can lean on them, because otherwise, how do you find these kind of life experiences?
Peter, do you want this barn? Why don't we get both barns out? There you go. Oh, we have lots of barns to choose from.
I think for me, inclusion means finding meaningful ways for him, finding ways for him to meaningfully participate in every activity that's happening for his peers and his classmates. So the other day he was the leader. Some of the other kids were like, we're gonna do just like Peter. So there was a whole line of them bum scooting around the playground in the sand. You could see their little sand trails. There were 3 or 4 of them all. Everything that Peter did, they were doing it too. So he was the leader of follow the leader. And one of the little guys said, "I love playing with Peter because he's so fun." You know, they're the ones initiating the inclusive activities, and hey, let's do it like Peter does, or Peter, come play with us. And it's not that I don't have to facilitate it as much anymore. They're initiating it, which is exactly what we want, because these kids are going to be with him, for the next 6 or 7 years, hopefully at least. And so, we want those friendships to develop and grow naturally, even long after I'm gone. Inclusion doesn't have to be complicated. It's not necessarily complex. It needs to be thoughtful, and it needs to be intentional, but that doesn't mean it has to be hard.
Here we go.
And so I see inclusion as anybody being able to come in and feel like they are part of our group here, and everyone knowing that they belong. And he is this cheerful, welcoming child. And so I find that he really teaches us how to be welcoming to others as well. So I found that I've really learned a lot from Frances and from the other people from Grit that have come into our classroom to support Peter and also myself.
Grit was a great addition to our life. I'm going to be very sad when we leave it, and I know Peter's going to miss a lot of the same people. But yeah, we had a good time for sure. And I'd recommend Grit highly. Yeah.